Hi again, everyone, and thank you for joining us for another one of our Staying the Course videos. We appreciate that very much. Today, a really important topic. We're going to be talking about how to stay mentally healthy during this pandemic, during this time of isolation. And with that in mind, we've got a couple of experts from the College of Health that are going to help us navigate this, Dr. Chris Wirth and Dr. Patsy Barrington. Hello to both of you. Thank you so much for your time.
Good morning.
Happy to be here.
Well, we appreciate that. I know this is going to be some great information for not only students, but for, I'd say, anybody watching. So, Dr. Wirth, I'm just going to start with you. Right off the bat, what are some of the biggest challenges that you're hearing from students right now that might play a role in their mental well-being?
What I'm hearing is just the quick change. So in a short amount of time, returning from spring break, having to move out of dorms, and some of the things that they need, such as laptops and materials for classes are still in dorms. So students are transitioning that way, change of jobs, obviously, and then moving back into home environments in some cases with families. So some of the changes that come with that has been some of the bigger ones that I've heard.
Dr. Barrington, I'll give you a chance. Is there anything different from that you're hearing from students?
Well, also in the bigger picture, just the fear of the unknown. So I think that's for everybody. We just don't know. It changes from day to day. They've had some frustration with the technology. So moving from face-to-face classes or online classes, or even if they're accustomed to an online platform, for example, Canvas yesterday was very, very sluggish because apparently the entire state of Florida, K through 12, went through or started their online using Canvas. So it's much slower than they're accustomed to. They also talked about having lost their jobs. So if they can't work, so how are they going to pay their bills? Where they're not having paychecks anymore. And in the long term, it affects can I even take summer classes? Can I take fall classes? Because I don't have that income coming in, which also affects their graduation date. So it really is snowballing. Some were saying that they're really disappointed that graduation, the ceremony, was canceled.
Yeah,
it might be one of those things that you didn't realize how much you look forward to it until it was taken away.
So we just laid out.
The thing is keeping in mind that some students, especially graduate students, have families, they have kids, they have parents that they need to take care of. And it's enough of a juggle and a struggle to do all that, to work and take care of your kids and go to school under normal circumstances. But this is really compounded.
So we've just laid out all sorts of issues. With that in mind, Dr. Barrington, I'll stick with you. What are some resources you might recommend students can use to help them think through this, to help them navigate some of this?
Sure, where the resources, of course, are going to be related to their struggles. So I think first identifying really what is their primary need or needs, and then relating the resource to that. So if it's academic, certainly talk to your professors. So this is not a time to clam up. Talk to your professors, talk to your academic advisor, for long-term planning. If it's financial, UWF has a Center for Financial Literacy. So if you haven't tapped into that, it's time to give them a call. If it's just general coping, UWF, the counseling services are still available.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Dr. Wirth, we're all adjusting right now, right? We're all still, I think, gathering so much information and trying to figure out what is, we keep hearing the phrase, the new normal. At what point do we move on from, okay, I got it, I've collected the information, now it's time to think through? When can students expect to get out of this transition and feel like, I've got a grip on this, now I'm going to think forward?
Well, the textbook answer as the human behaviorist, it takes about 2 months to get into new routines and things like that. But fortunately for a lot of our students, we are only 1 month left of the semester and entering into April. And so we really just have to get through this 1 month and then kind of transition back into summer life. I know a lot of students have felt they're already on summer break. So kind of falling back into some of those old habits. It's going to be new for some of the students who are not used to taking classes online, but going back to what they've had success with before and being able to set aside time to do their schoolwork, making sure that they're staying motivated and putting things in place right now is going to help with that transition. So yeah, it's going to take a little bit of time, but if they just get into a mentality of maybe even just kind of a summer school mentality, that's going to help with that transition.
Thank you. Dr. Barrington, there may be some students or some adults who think, no, I'm handling this just fine, but maybe they're not and they don't even know it. Are there any red flags any of us, certainly students, can look to let us know, maybe I'm not handling this as well as I thought I was?
Christian, that's an interesting question because we're all struggling right now to some degree. Definitely some are struggling more than others. These are very unusual times, so it's okay to feel unsettled and it's okay to feel out of sorts. We're all establishing new routines and it's a time of transition. But your question is really what are the red flags and when do I know that I'm really, really struggling? So that's an individual case. So I would say looking at extremes. So if you're doing anything way too much or way too little, so it could be you're sleeping too much or too little, eating too much or eating too little, feelings of apathy or you can't get out of bed. So really look at your individual situation and if you feel like you have extreme behaviors for a prolonged period of time. But also keep in mind that these are just unusual times.
With about a minute left, I'm going to give you both a chance to answer this. I'll start with Dr. Wirth. Dr. Wirth, do you have kind of maybe a top 2 things students or any of us can do, should do to sort of make sure we're staying mentally healthy, we're doing what we need to do?
Yeah, absolutely. Number one is just continuing in some form of a daily routine. If we treat this as a summer break where we can stay up late at night and sleep in, that's going to obviously affect our productivity and going to aid in procrastination. So having a set workspace, I think, is important. And going through the regular routines of getting dressed, showering, simple things like that you would do on a normal work day, school day, and having a set established part of your house that is your work zone. And within that's my second point, which is to set some boundaries. We've got families who have children who are going to be online in classes and spouses who are working, all these different things. And we will still need to have kind of our alone time and maybe just communicate that during these hours, I'm going to be in my space working and then making sure that we're connecting with people in our other time.
Dr. Barrington?
Yeah, quickly. So coping can be thought of in 2 different categories, things you can't change and things you can change. So if you can't change it, then do some of the stress management things. So listen to some music, take some time out. One student said, she said, well, I lost my job, but now I have time to exercise and to meditate. So she's taking advantage of that situation, which is a great way to perceive it. The things that you can change, then take advantage of the resources that we mentioned here. This is not a time to be shy. This is not a time to be proud. So ask for help. Ask your professors, your advisors, ask your family, ask your friends. You don't have to ask a lot of people. Just reach out to one person, and that can make a difference.
Dr. Chris Wirth, Dr. Patsy Barrington, tremendously helpful information from both of you. Thank you so much for spending a few minutes with me today. I appreciate that very much.
Absolutely.
Sure. Thank you.